In this session, we're going to talk about the 5 missing pieces of most vacation Bible schools. Now, these are things that hold a Bible school back from having its most powerful impact. And the first one is effective promotion. In other words, the people you promote to, that's who's going to come. Now, in the introduction, I already shared a story with you. The story where a church was saying, well, how come we only have kids that normally come to church and the grandkids of our church members? And I asked them, I said, how did you promote it? Well, we promoted it on Sunday morning. We made announcements. We showed videos. We made a big deal. But they promoted it to the people they reached. They promoted it to the people inside the church or to family members of those people. Now, if you want to reach people outside your church, then you've got to take that promotion outside your church. Now, when I led vacation Bible schools, and I've led many of them, but I'm talking about when I led them from the ground up. I mean, the promotion, the recruiting, everything. Nowadays, we travel, we share in a lot of Bible schools, but I don't typically lead them from the ground up. But when I did promotion, I thought about it in 2 different ways. On the one hand, you had inReach. And your inReach, that's your church bulletin, that's videos you're going to show on Sunday morning, dramas you may do as a prelude to Bible school, that's your church newsletter, emails to your church members, things like that. And so you have your internal promotion using all the ways that you would normally communicate to your church. And that varies from church to church. Some churches use a lot of email. Some churches, the pastor has a blog. Others, they text. However you normally communicate, there's your inReach. But then you've got to think of a whole different realm when you start thinking of your outreach promotion. You've got your inReach, now your outreach, because now you're thinking about people that have never walked through the doors of your church. And so you're thinking about kids, and they've never been to church here before. So how do we connect with them? First of all, to let them know what's happening. And then secondly, to give them information that will not just help them to want to come, or not just help them to come, but to help them want to come. In other words, what are you doing in Bible school that somebody that has never been to your church, a kid, that he would go, wow, I don't want to miss that. What are you doing? What's that? I don't want to call it a hook, but in promotion, a lot of times that's what they talk about. And so outside the doors of your church, lots of ways you can promote. Your newspaper. Try to partner with your newspaper. Put up posters around town. Send an email to all of your prospects. Now, and also a regular letter, information. Send that information to them. Now, if you don't have a prospect list, I want to encourage you, start building one. I am not encouraging you to do this. This was many years ago. Many years ago, when our culture was a little bit different, I would follow a school bus around. And I would write down the addresses of where all the kids were getting off because I knew that's where they lived. Today, that's like a predator. Do not do that. But there are lots of other ways that you can get that kind of information. An easy way is anytime anybody comes to your church, get their information. Add it to a list. Start building that prospect list. Then use your families. They have kids that play on ball teams. They have kids that use them to invite kids. In other words, one of your greatest avenues of inviting others is to use your own kids. So if you wait till summer gets here to start Bible school promotion, your kids aren't in contact with a lot of their friends. School is ended. So start that promotion before school gets out. In fact, if your Bible school is late in the summer, I would encourage you to actually plan what you would call promotion events. And this is where kids can enroll in Vacation Bible School. You might do a VBS parade, a VBS carnival, a VBS preview day, things where from the time school's out, you can begin leading up to Bible school, but that promotion that, hey, come to this. Maybe you're not inviting them to Bible school because it's 6 weeks down the road, but you're inviting them to one of these prelude events that's going to help promote Bible school and is going to connect with people that don't normally come to your church. Other ways, use Facebook, use YouTube, use videos, use your families. On Facebook, tell your families, share this information. Lots of different ways, but you need 2 plans, one for inside the church and one for outside the church. So, part number 1 that's missing in a lot of Bible schools is promotion. And if you think about it, that affects everything. So the number of kids you're going to have in Bible school, directly comes from the kind of promotion that you do, the kind of outreach, and the number of decisions you're going to have, how many kids get saved. That directly comes from how well you did in your promotion, whether you just promoted to your church kids or whether you went beyond. And so be creative. Don't just be confined to what's in your curriculum. Think outside the box. What can we do to connect with these kids? Now, I'm going to give you a couple of ideas, a couple questions to consider. And we call these are the whys that we don't often ask. And so, in other words, question number one is, why would a kid who's never been to my church, why would he come? In other words, how is he going to hear about it? What's his connection? What's that connection point? Number two, why would he want to come? Now, I already mentioned that. In other words, what's happening here that a kid that doesn't know Christ, isn't used to going to church, that he would look and go, Mom, Dad, I don't want to miss that. I want to be a part of that. And this is not just for Vacation Bible School. This is about anything that you're doing. With your regular church activities, you want your kids to walk in every Sunday. I mean, like on the edge of their seats wondering what's going to happen this week. I mean, what you want it to be where they can't wait to get to church. And if Mom and Dad go, I think we're going to stay home today, that their kids are the ones, no, Mom, Dad, we got to go to church. I had a little girl, and her parents surprised her with a trip. Her mom and her were going to fly all the way to Disney World, and they were going to spend the weekend at Disney World. They're going to fly out after school on Friday. No, actually, she was going to skip school on Friday. They were going to fly out, be there Friday night, Saturday, and she was all excited until they told her that they wouldn't get back until Sunday afternoon. Now, this is Disney World. She is flying there. They're staying in a hotel. Her response was, tears came to her eyes. She started crying. She told her mom and dad, she said, how could you do this to me? I don't want to miss church. Another kid, he was at Six Flags. And this young man, he was with his dad, and they'd been riding roller coasters and having fun. And he wanted to ride this roller coaster again, and his dad told him. He said, now it's late. And we have a 3-hour drive back to home, and that's a 2-hour line. So if we stay in that line, now I'm just telling you right now, we're not going to church tomorrow. And his son, to his surprise, his son said, okay, Dad, let's go. Because he did not want to miss church the next morning. Now, both those kids, those were two different churches. And at those two different churches where we had ministries, we had created the ministry to where kids, when they walked in, one girl walked in one day, Sunday morning, she walked in, she was so excited. I said, you look so excited. What's going on? She said, I'm at church. She said, can you give me a hint? What's going to happen today? That's the kind of excitement you want, not just around Bible school, but anything you're doing in your children's ministry. And so I don't want to use the term that you need to have a hook, because that sounds almost like it's gimmicky or manipulative, and you don't ever be gimmicky or manipulative. What I'm saying is you want it to be engaging. You want it to be fun, and you want it to be so fun that a kid who's never been to your church looks at it and goes, wow, I don't want to miss that. So here are the whys we never ask. Why would he come? Why would he want to come? And then, why would he want to keep coming? Now, we've already talked about this a little bit in an earlier session. Kids come and they stay because of relationship. In other words, they may come for excitement 2 or 3 weeks, but it's going to be the relationship that you have with them and the relationship your leaders have with them that's going to reach them long term. That's what's going to keep them coming, when they see that you care about them. Now, I'm just going to tell you right now, I know we're talking about Bible school. I'm going to go a little beyond, because I don't want you to invest in kids just for 1 week. And I certainly, if you're a teacher, I don't want you to teach Bible school to fill a spot. I want you to do it because your heart's in it, because you want to see these kids come to Christ. Now, I'm going to say something, and your Bible school director may not agree with me on this. And we will talk about this a little bit more on our session with recruiting volunteers, and that's for the leadership. But when I taught and put together Bible schools, I wanted the teachers that wanted to be in the rooms. I wanted the teachers that had a heart for the kids and a heart for seeing those kids come to know Christ and love Christ and follow Christ. And I would take one of them over a dozen people that are just warm bodies filling a spot. When I put together a Vacation Bible School, I don't recruit warm bodies. I don't want warm bodies. They become a distraction to what you're trying to accomplish. Now, the reason I'm saying this is if you're watching and you've been recruited and you're sitting there going, I don't want to be a part of Bible school and I'm not looking forward to it, I want you to set yourself aside, and I will tell you what I would have told one of my volunteers. First of all, I want you to spend some time with the Lord. And I want you to be praying for the kids that will come to Bible school, because you have a decision that you need to make about whether or not you need to be in Bible school. Because if you walk in Bible school and you have an attitude, this is a burden and I don't want to do it and it's just too much and I'm too strung out, and then I'm just going to tell you, you probably don't want to be there. As a leader, I would not have wanted you there if you were bringing that baggage in with you. I want you to be there because you're walking in and you're excited too. And you may be a little nervous about teaching or this or that, but you're excited because you get to tell these kids about Jesus. And there will be kids maybe in your class and they don't know about Jesus. Or maybe what they know about Jesus is wrong. They've heard all these things from TV and other places, and they have a complete misconception of who he is. And you get to be the one to teach them the truth. That is an honor. That is a privilege. I mean, that's a privilege worth fighting for. Talk about, I want to volunteer for that. Sometimes when we volunteer, I think we're volunteering to fill a spot. We're not volunteering to get to know these kids, to relate to them, we forget the heart of what's at the core of what's going to happen in your vacation Bible school. And so I want to challenge you to do a couple of things. First of all, I want you to spend some time with the Lord. If you're struggling with this, I want you to pray about it, because I want you to walk into that Bible school with the right focus. And the right focus is not the decorations, and the right focus is not, oh, they're producing great crafts, and the right focus is not, oh, I covered my lesson in the time they gave me. The right focus is these kids knowing Christ and following Christ. And you get to be the communication tool, the witness, the mouthpiece that creates a mode of transportation for them to come to Christ. And that is an honor. And so I want you to enter with the right heart. So kids keep coming because of relationship, because they see that you're genuine, that you love them. So go beyond Bible school. Remember their birthdays. Go beyond Bible school. I mean, even if you're the Bible school teacher, send them a postcard. Comes their birthday time. Show up at their door with a balloon, happy birthday, or drop them a note 5 weeks later that says, been thinking about you, praying for you, love to see you again. There was a man I recruited to help in Vacation Bible School, and he told me no. But he just seemed to have this gentle kindness about him. And just when I was around him, he had a love for the Lord, but he just didn't think he would ever, ever, ever be good working with kids. His words to me were that, if I remember right, he was afraid he would get frustrated and that it just would not be a good experience for him or the kids. And so I had asked him, and he had said no, and that was fine. And then he came back to me. He had prayed about it, and he came back and he said, I feel like I need to do this. I want to do it. And so I put him with kindergartners. Now, why I put him there, I don't remember why. But he just seemed like he would fit well with my kindergartners. And so kindergarten class, we had a bunch of kindergartners. And he taught them that week. And he fell in love with those kids. And so much so, when summer came to an end, he said, can I teach Sunday school? Yeah, I want to volunteer. I want to teach kindergarten. Can I teach kindergarten? And so he taught kindergarten, and the next year he taught again, and then God called us to another ministry, and this has been 7 years now, and he is still teaching kindergartners. In fact, his original kindergartners, they're in middle school now because he loves it. He realized that he could connect, and not just that, what he cared about was their hearts. And I'm telling you, these kids, they knew him by name, because he learned their names. And that's what I want to challenge you to do. Get to know your kids by name. Have conversations with them. Don't just let them be another face in the crowd. Get to know your kids. That's what he excelled at. And he loved the kids. And so I want to encourage you, make the most of the opportunities. So the whys, okay, why would they come? Why would they want to come? And why would they keep on coming? The second thing that's missing in most Bible schools is a clear presentation of the gospel and an opportunity to respond. And so a lot of Bible schools, now they'll talk about salvation, but sometimes it's very abstract. What you want is a very concrete way. If you can show it instead of saying it, That's what I want you to do. And you'll notice in the Plan of Salvation in these training videos, you're going to see we don't just say it, we show it. There's a picture we use. And during Bible school, sometimes we'll take that picture and day 1, we'll do part 1. And day 2, we'll do part 2. By the end of the week, they've seen the entire Plan of Salvation. But we also want them to hear the gospel so that if a kid comes and he's unchurched and it's the only day of Bible school that he attends, that he's going to hear the entire gospel and he's going to have an opportunity to respond. Now, I'm not saying you have to have an invitation every day. Most of our Bible schools, we had an invitation on Wednesday or Thursday. And a lot of times we did not have that invitation at the end. We would actually have it after our opening. And the reason for that is because there's always kids and it's hard to go down, talk to somebody, and afterwards they're thinking about it. And so 15, 20 minutes later, they might walk up to a teacher and say, I wish I would have gone down. I wish I would have talked to somebody. Now, if we did it at the end, then kids are going home and they don't have that opportunity to do that. So that's why we would put our invitation earlier. But you say, well, what about the other days? What about Monday? Monday, kids, an opportunity to respond? Absolutely. Because what we would do is we would point people out from the beginning. From the very beginning, we're telling kids, if you have questions about anything we're talking about, and if you're not sure you're going to heaven, here are the people you can talk to. One year, in fact, often we would do t-shirts. One year we did a ninja shirt. In fact, if you go to our store, it's still in our store, and it has a ninja face on the front. And so our certain leaders were wearing these shirts. These were the leaders that had gone through our evangelism training. They were ready. Their main job at Vacation Bible School was to get to know kids, relate to kids, answer their questions, because they're going to be the question person for anything. When David fought Goliath, why did he take 5 stones? And they're going to get questions like that. But their main purpose is they're looking for opportunities to share their own personal testimony of how they got saved. And we have that training in this session too. Under a minute long. So easy that they would go in sometimes at crafts, be making crafts with kids. Of course, they're wearing their ninja shirt, so every kid in there knows if I have a question, that's who I go to. They're sitting there and they'd turn to a kid and say, hey, can I tell you about how I know I'm going to heaven? And in 1 minute, there with all the kids around the table, they'd simply share their testimony. And then if any of the kids had questions, they'd say, hey, if you have questions about that, you want to know more, just catch me. I'd love to talk to you about it. Relational. They're getting to know kids' names. They're sharing their testimonies. They're wearing these shirts every day. And we're pointing them out consistently, especially when we talk about salvation. We'd say, hey, if you're not sure you're going to heaven, grab one of our question ninjas and just pull them aside. They'd love to talk to you. Or if you have questions about anything else we talk about, just talk to one of our ninjas. And so something like that, it creates a way where kids, there's an invitation and it's open. And so you can do the same with all of your teachers to say, hey, talk to any one of your teachers. But if you do that, make sure that all of your teachers are ready to share the gospel with a child. That they are. My goal, every time I did Bible school, I wanted every one of my leaders to know how to share their testimony to a child, as well as how to lead a child to Christ. Now, there were some that were more comfortable than others. And I would always have some that would say, if somebody comes to me, can I take them to somebody and sit down and watch them? Absolutely. That's part of learning. Sometimes is you watching somebody who's done this before and learning from how they're relating, how they're responding, what they're saying. And so that's how we learn. So absolutely. So how I would say it, if it was all of our teachers, I would say, if you have questions about salvation, if you're not sure you're going to heaven, or you have questions about why Jesus died or rose again, then you can talk to any one of your leaders. And when you go talk to them, they're either going to sit down, pull you aside, answer your question, or they're going to take you to somebody who's going to sit down and answer your question for you. And that way it takes a little bit of that pressure off. Now, I want all of my leaders to be ready, but I don't want them to be in fear. What if a kid pulls me aside, asks me a question I don't know? And the answer to that is you tell them, I don't know, but I'm going to take you to somebody who might know. And so it's not that hard. Sometimes we make this so much more difficult than this. And so to have a clear way that your kids are hearing the gospel and opportunities to respond throughout the week. In fact, in craft time, I'm going to share a story with you under the craft session. I'm going to share a story. I'm going to go ahead and just briefly give you a hint now. I did a Bible school where more kids got saved during craft time than they did the rest of the week put together, including the invitation. They got saved in craft time. And it wasn't because we had question ninjas in there. It was because I had craft leaders who were intentional about evangelism. So they were the ones sharing Jesus while they did crafts. And you know what time in Bible school kids talk the most? Kids talk when they're doing something with their hands. Relationship time, that's craft time right there. And so it's not about crafts. It's about the kids. It's about the truth. It's about the connections that are made. All right, so 5 missing pieces. We talked about number 1, good promotion. Number 2, a clear presentation of the gospel and opportunities to respond. Okay, now, with a clear presentation, I want you to know we have tons of object lessons, illustrations, visuals that actually show the plan of salvation. In fact, in this session, we have 5 gospel presentations, and we built those to actually show at Bible schools. And so each is about 12 minutes long, and you'll notice if you watch them, now you can use them in your Bible school. You could just show those. And we've had Bible schools that had, in one of their rotations, they would show that salvation video, and then they would answer their kids' questions afterwards. But if you want to do those things live, then in our store, we have all of that stuff. Everything you see us do on there, we teach other people to do. So you can watch those videos and go, okay, that's a visual way that I can share part of the plan of salvation. So those videos are in this teaching session, as well as we have all sorts of things at our store, which is at 330resources.org. Okay, back to what I was saying. The third thing. So 1, promotion. 2, clear presentation of the gospel. 3 are trained leaders that know how to talk to a kid about Christ. I had a pastor. I was doing a revival, and a pastor pulled me aside, and the pastor said to me, he said, "Can you show me how you lead a child to Christ?" He said, "I've led kids to Christ." He said, "But I'm really uncomfortable with it, and I would like you to train me." Now, this is a pastor. He's been in ministry for over 20 years. But he's saying, I understand that leading a child to Christ, that you communicate, it's the same truth, but maybe you don't use the same vocabulary. How can I do this more effectively? And so that's why in these sessions, we have training. And I want to encourage you, have all of your Bible school volunteers, even your youth, have them go through that training. I mean, train your youth to be experts at sharing their salvation story, their testimony, and at leading kids to Christ. In Bible school, the people your kids will relate to first are going to be the ones that are closest to their age. And so say a 3rd grader walking in, and you've got a 55-year-old teacher, and you've got a 47-year-old teacher, and you have a 17-year-old, and you've got a 13-year-old. In that mix, the first person that kid's going to migrate to is probably going to be the 13-year-old or the 17-year-old, depending on their gender, depending on how they initially greet them, respond to them, if they engage them or don't. That's going to all play a part of that. But they're going to migrate first to the ones that are closest to their age. And so using youth during Bible school, boy, that's a powerhouse. I mean, use those youth. But now I'll say this too. I would tell my church, the churches that I served at, one of them in particular, they had always opened their Bible school for any youth that wanted to come help because they wanted as many helpers as they could get. And I came in and I said, I love the idea, but I don't want to use youth if they're not trained. Now, I am all for using youth, but I know the power of a trained youth. And so I got in front of the youth group and I told them this. I said, I want you to help in Bible school. And here are the qualifications. Qualification number 1, that you are saved. You've given your life to Christ. Qualification number 2, that as far as you know, you're living for Christ and you're walking with Him to the best of your ability. That you love the Lord and you want to see kids come to Christ. Those are my qualifications for you. And then if you meet those qualifications, I want to train you. I said, now, if you are not interested in being trained of how you can be effective in leading kids to Christ and teaching and connecting with kids and sharing truth with them, I said, if you're not interested in being trained, I do not want you at Vacation Bible School. And because you will become a distraction to the youth that we're training. They're going to have a purpose. I mean, they're going to be a part of life change. And what I don't need is another youth walking through the door that's there for the fun, that's there for the wrong reason, that's there to socialize. And I don't want that, because that's going to distract my youth that are there for a purpose. I want you to come work in Bible school because you are on a mission, and I'm going to get you ready for it. And so we took those youth, those that were interested, and we trained them. And I'm telling you, youth, they can lead people to the Lord. I love using youth. Now I'm going to go a step further. In some of our Bible schools, we would train our older children. that were active church members that met those same qualifications. We would train them how to lead people to the Lord too. We would have kids in our Bible school leading kids in their class to Christ because we trained them as well. And so when I say have trained leaders, I want you to be ready. That's why I'm saying that. We were doing a revival, and at this revival we had shared in the community, and boy, just boatloads of youth and children and families came, and it was literally almost standing room only. I mean, they set up more chairs, and they had a crying room in the back, and it was full of people. And so we had an invitation this revival night. I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and invitation, just floods of people came down, wanting to know how they could give their life to Christ. And every person in the church, at one point the pastor said, because other people from other churches had come, and there were other pastors there and a director of missions, and he said, if you know how to lead a child to Christ, and you're from one of our sister churches, come talk to me real quick, because we have people that want to know. So adults came down. Well, my wife, a little girl, had come down to her after all of this. Now, invitation's still going on. And this lady, she had been there all revival. She was part of the backbone of the church. We knew that. And she was singing the invitation song, and my wife turned to her with this little 9-year-old girl, and she said, she wants to know how she can give her life to Christ. Would you just take a moment and sit down just right here on this front pew and just talk to her about how she can do that? And this older lady, been in that church forever, backbone of the church, she put her head down and tears ran down her cheeks. And she said, I can't. I don't know how. Now, our churches are full of people, even in leadership positions, even in Sunday school teacher positions, even some deacons. I met a youth minister this last year, and that youth minister had never led anyone to Christ. There are people in our churches, been there for years, but they don't know how to lead someone to the Lord. That's why we want you to make that training a big part of your Vacation Bible School. It's amazing when your youth, your children, your leaders get to be a part of an eternal impact. It changes everything. It changes everything. All right, so 5 things that are missing. 1, promotion. All right, focus on that promotion. 2, clear presentation of gospel, opportunity to respond. 3, leaders that are trained to share the gospel on a child's level. And then the last one, well, not the last one, the 4th one is effective follow-up. Now, we started with promotion, and now we've got follow-up. Both of those are missing things in a lot of Bible schools. It's a lot easier to notice missing promotion than it is missing follow-up. Because if you don't have good promotion, you will see that during your Bible school by what happens. But if you have good promotion and a good Bible school, but no follow-up, nobody really sees that. And so I want you to understand, these work together. Good promotion. So focus on them almost as 3 individual things. You have your promotion. Okay, what's going to happen there? If you want to have a team or a leader just for that, do it. Then you've got your event. What's going to happen? Then you've got your follow-up. What's going to happen? And if you need a follow-up team, that's great. I would recruit a follow-up team, a team that would go visit people. And I want you to understand, follow-up does not begin when Bible school ends. Follow-up begins during Bible school itself. So if you have decisions, follow-up begins the moment that child makes a decision. And so the moment that happens that afternoon, somebody needs to call home and say, hey, we told them at church to tell you what happened, that they made a decision. They wanted to give their life to Christ. And I just wanted to make sure that they had told you that, because we always want you to know what your child is saying and thinking and what's going on in their lives. And want to see if you have any questions about that. And so that can be a phone call. It can be a visit. A lot of times we would make a phone call during Bible school. Our follow-up teams would make visits after Bible school. Now the visits, some are decision follow-up visits, and some of those visits are to guests. And guests primarily those that don't attend other churches, but also sometimes you'll have people register and they will write down, what church, what's your home church? It's such and such church, and they have not been to that church in 5 years. And you can always know when you're talking to somebody and say, hey, what church do you go to? Oh, we're members at, such and such. Oh, okay. Ask them, say, who's your pastor? It is so funny. A lot of times they don't know because they haven't been there in years. although they still think of that as their church. And so don't just write off, well, we're not going to follow up. If they list another church, now don't be about the business of trying to steal people from churches. If you go knock on their door and they, oh yeah, we're active at such, that's fantastic. Pray for them, pray for that church, pray for that ministry. Tell them you're so glad they are always welcome. Their kids are always welcome at your church, but you're glad that they are where God has called them to be. That's fantastic. But follow up on those kids also. And so have follow-up teams in place. And you'll notice we have a whole bunch of training on how to make home visits, how to follow up on a decision. And all that training's in this course as well. And so take a look at that. So follow-up, big part that is often missed. And it's one reason why you have kids come to Bible school and bye Johnny, see you at next Bible school or see you next Easter, because they're not coming back. With follow-up, I also want you to understand that, and you'll see this when we talk about planning events, your events, instead of being an isolated island, okay, that here's Bible school, here's a revival, here's Christmas Eve service, here's a fall festival, and all of these are their own individual things. You want to weave a string that connects all of these. It's more like a river, that one event flows into another. So for us during our summers, the last church where I served as children's minister, we had camp right after school. So in school, we're promoting, because it's always best to promote one thing at a time. And so instead of promoting everything during summer, we would promote our children's camp. Now, maybe children's camp for you isn't all ages. And so maybe you need to be promoting camp to the preteens, and your younger kids, you're promoting Vacation Bible School. But either way, your promotion, make sure it fits the age. So we promote camp. And so they come to camp, and then we're promoting Vacation Bible School. And then at Vacation Bible School, we would do a follow-up afterwards. We'd do a follow-up event. And so what that is the weeks after Bible school, on Wednesdays, we would do the flood. And the flood, it is come dressed to get wet. You're going to come in the church. Now, you're wearing, and we talked to them about how to dress decently, but you're coming in the church and we're going to do a 45-minute session. It's all going to be about water. All the Bible stories have to do with water, all the activities. Then we're going to go outside. We're going to have water games. And it's a fantastic, fun thing. We would call it the flood. And we would do it every Wednesday from Vacation Bible School until school started. And then during the flood, just like Bible school, we're promoting the flood. At the flood, we're promoting our Wednesday school activities during the fall. And then during that, we're promoting Fall Festival. At Fall Festival, we're promoting Christmas Eve. And so it just flows together. And so have an effective follow-up, have a follow-up plan. Finally, the fifth missing piece of Vacation Bible School is an effective parents' night or an effective family night. What I see a lot of churches do, because we are asked to come in and share at a lot of these, what I see a lot of churches do for a parents' night is they have snacks where kids can meet the teachers and the other leaders and relate, and they have a video or a slide presentation, and then they give thank yous. Thank you for volunteering. Thank you for serving. But what I don't find, unless they're intentional about it, is a clear presentation of the gospel. And so on your parents' night, there's a couple of things that I want to encourage you to do. One is have a hook. Now, I don't mean to be gimmicky again, but have something that's going to draw kids. Where kids go home from Bible school and they go, Mom, Dad, you got to come see this. Mom and Dad, I don't want to miss this. I want you to be there too. Have something that's going to draw. One year I got inside a 6-foot balloon. One year we did a certain thing with pies. One year we during the Bible school, it was a pirate-themed Bible school, and we built a plank off of our stage. We set up a swimming pool, and it had mattresses in the bottom, and then it had all of these, the ball pit balls, and then it had thousands of balloons. It was just billowing with balloons. And so during the week, the kids that brought the most guests, they would walk the plank. And so we'd put on music and they'd have 1 minute, and they would jump in feet first, and then they would go down, and at the bottom, they would look for prizes, and they would pull out whatever prize they wanted they could find in that time. And so during Parents' Night, we told them, we said, now tonight, we're going to recognize, the person that brought the most guests all week long, the guy and the girl. But I said, we're going to choose one of your parents to walk the plank too. And boy, it was a huge deal. Every kid wanted their mom or dad to walk the plank. And we told them, we said, now before Parents' Night tonight, we're going to put in gift cards. Walmart gift cards in envelopes. So in there, you can't see what it is. We said we're going to put in a $5 gift card, a $10 gift card, a $20 gift card, and we're going to put in a $100 gift card to Walmart. And so, I mean, we let the dad go first. It was a dad we randomly chose. And it turned out to be a dad, and he walked the plank. I'm telling you, he had as much fun as the kids, and it was a blast. But it was a draw because every one of the kids, they're like, Mom, Dad, I want you to go. I want you to walk the plank. Now, some of the parents came beforehand and said, if I'm chosen, do I have to do it? And the answer is no, you don't have to do it. If you're chosen and you don't want to do it, you can send your kid as a substitute. Now, we only told that to the parents that came to us saying that, but in the back of my mind, if I brought up a parent and they're like, I don't want to do that, we would have easily made that substitute because every kid was wanting to get in there. And the fun thing, when they would jump feet first, balloons would go flying in the air and you'd see that pool wiggle around. It was a blast. It was a great draw. And so we've done all sorts of creative things. I want you to think outside the box. I know a lot of churches, for the offering, they may do a pie in the face. And if you've done that every year, that's great. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying that may not be as big a draw to an unchurched, unreached kid as you might be thinking that it is. I still think it's great. I still like that. But there are other ways, so have something that's exciting, engaging, that makes kids want to come. Then when they come, keep it short and promote it to your parents. A lot of times we'll promote the beginning time and the end time because we've discovered unchurched people are more likely to come if we say it goes from 7 to 7:45 p.m. Snacks to follow afterwards. Instead of come at 7 o'clock, because they might be thinking they've never been to church before. They might be going, this might be 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. How long are these people going to go? I'm not sure I want to go. So put the beginning time, put the end time, keep it short. I would shoot for 40 minutes. And you go to 45, you're a little over. That's all right. But keep it short. And in that 40 minutes, what do? Start off, high energy song, get things going. Give your thank yous, but don't have everybody stand up. Don't make a 15-minute production about it because that's not the point. The point is you're going to share the gospel here. So you're engaging, you're acknowledging because you do want to do that. You're showing pictures, video of your kids, and then what are you doing? You're presenting the gospel. You're sharing, have kids that went to the Bible school, have 3 of them lined up, and at different points bring them up, let them share their salvation story. Now work with them beforehand, so that they're practiced, they're ready, and even how to hold the mic, or put it on a stand so they don't have to hold it, but walk through this with them beforehand, or even better, hold the mic for them. That way you can get it close enough to their mouth, which is always funny. You hold it to their mouth, tell them beforehand you're going to hold it close. Because when you hold it, they might start backing up like this right here. Before long, they're bending backwards. I've had that happen before. Practice with them. This is an opportunity for them to minister in a way where those adults are going to listen to what these kids have to say when they're up sharing their testimony. And not only that, the kids are going to listen. So don't just do it at parents' night. Guess what? Do it throughout your whole Bible school. And then at the end, after each time you have a kid share their salvation story, say, hey, if you have questions, if you've never made this decision, you're not sure you're going to heaven, talk to one of our, tell them who they can talk to. Give them that opportunity. And so back to parents' night. Keep it short. Present the gospel. Having a fellowship time afterwards, I love that. I like doing it after. And afterwards, you could have a dunk tank. You could have a carnival. You could just have cookies and Kool-Aid, but the same kind of thing. Make sure there's something that shows who your staff is. Be sure to introduce your pastor or your staff so that people have eyes on them. And then these people, their jobs, and like if you do the ninja thing, their job is to relate to people. And so they're getting to know names, they're talking to people, they're engaging, they're building those relationships. And all of that happens in this time afterwards. If you have crafts, let kids pick up crafts to take home. And that's something else. If you want to hold their crafts and have them all pick it up during parents' night, it does create another reason for them to come because they're going to get their crafts that night. Personally, I like sending them home at the end of each day. And that way parents see what's happening every day instead of holding them all to the end. But I've seen it happen both ways. There are resources that we have. If you're looking at, okay, how can I build or create a really engaging family night that's going to share the gospel like what we're talking about. We've created some of these, and so we have some resources, and you'll see those listed on this webpage where the video is, where you can go and learn a little bit more about that. So 5 missing pieces of most Bible schools. 1, it's promotion. 2, it is a clear presentation of the gospel. and an opportunity for kids to respond, not just on one day, but throughout the entire week. Leaders who are trained to share the gospel. Effective Bible school follow-up. And remember, that decision follow-up begins the moment they make a decision. And then an effective vacation Bible school family night or parent night, whatever you want to call it. You can give it a name. Incredibly Random is a name we used once. And so you can call it whatever you want. It's not a standalone event, but it's also an event where you can promote, come to church Sunday. Hey, this is what's happening, the flood. Maybe your kids have heard about this Bible school follow-up, but the parents haven't. You get to introduce them to it. And so there's lots of ways that you can use that as a connection point. And so I hope this has blessed you. I hope it's been meaningful. If you have questions, email us your questions. We would love to interact with you and to help you any way that we can. And this is just the beginning. We have lots more sessions. I want you to go to the ones that are going to help you the most and get the most out of there. May God bless you. Our prayers are with your Vacation Bible.